Hi and welcome back to Down the Shed. So in this video we're going to be looking at a Ferris wheel. That's what I was looking for, which looks a bit like this. That's all 156 LEDs going around there. So I'll solder a couple in on camera and then I'll basically just do a quick couple of seconds of each leg. So boom, 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 boom. That way we can not waste a lot of time on the soldering of repetitive LEDs. Just remember, they don't actually give you a plus or a minus on this board, or even an arrow for the cathode and the anode. You just get a flat side on a circle, which is basically the shape of an LED. So the flat side is the negative and the rounded side is the positive. So just make sure the long leg goes in the round side and the short leg goes into the flat side. So yeah, that's going to be the next build. Here you go, look, 156 colour changing LEDs. It's going to be fun, isn't it? Probably 10 spare or something. I'm thinking of mounting it onto one of these. It can't be this one because this one's got the speakers in the front, and which sounds better, and the brain module on the top, whereas this one, although it's got the antenna on the top, that board base plate for the is slightly thinner than the top of this, so it will hot snot glue on there quite nicely. And unlike this one, which has got the LEDs in there, so they're not very well seen on the horizontal, this one's got the LEDs in the front. I need to do a demonstration of them too at some point, but perhaps when. So let's get that out quick. I mean, I don't really want to try cutting holes in the top of one of these to mount this in there, which is still wider. So the one, you can buy it with one of these, but it must be wider than these are to fit this on. But that'll make it, with that on the top, it'll just, well, the space plate in there a little bit, that'll be kind of like that tool. Let's get it straight, even. Yeah, so that'll be that tool, with this being somewhat that high off this. So this does actually, if you're thinking how does it go round, you have two contacts which are like watch pins. If you think of a watch pin, when you put a watch pin in, you've got the springy bit that goes into the hole on the from the pin onto the watch base. The contacts are like that, so they just touch the plate on there as this turns round, and it just scrapes against them. The Christmas tree one works on the same principle, but I'm not sure, the contact's not brilliant on there. I need to, the springs might have shortened, or it might have just, I don't know whether this wears off or what, but yeah, the signal ain't that good on that one. But yeah, this just mounts onto a motor, and that goes onto a bracket. Not sure which way on here. I'm guessing it's going to be on the back, and then that'll all bolt onto here. So that'll be fun. That'll be next. So I'll give you a quick couple of pictures of what it's going to look like when it's done, and then we'll get on and build it. Right, I'm just going to give you a really quick time lapse of the LEDs going in. Like I said, it's going to be really laborious, and there's no point losing too much time over it. So here we go. Right, I'm going to put the build sheet up quickly, or the component list or whatever, so you can see what it is, and then we'll start cracking on with the actual build. So that's all the laborious task of the LED ring. One of them might be a bit stuffed because I dropped it and it smashed an LED. So I don't know if the board's damaged on the N1 or not, but we'll find out. I'm guessing one or two might not work. I tested them all before they went on, but we've got the other two components on this side to go on, and then this side, and then we'll get on and build the rest of it. So let's crack on. Right, so you can see it laid out in front of me. We've got all the time-consuming LEDs in. So we've got a little bag of parts here. So the first thing I'm going to put on is this little infrared jobby, and this seems to want the legs bent, so, or it wants to lie down anyway. So just get him so that's now legs bent into place. That's lying down on the board. Right, so solder. We'll get that tabbed on. And we've also got the mic that goes on this side. So there we go, little tiny mic. Right, so the insulated one away from the case is positive, and the one that's connected to the case, which looks like this one here, is the negative. That's how that wants to go in. Normally there's one that has what looks like a little crow's feet, 3 connectors going off it, but I can spot that, so it's the one that's obviously nearest the case. The one that's in the middle, what looks to be in the middle, is the shielded one. So that should be it for this side of the board, which it appears to be is. So the 156 odd LEDs plus the condenser electrolyte mic and the infrared receiver. So everything else now goes on this side of the board. I can already see bent chip legs. Oh, that's so disappointing. Right, that's how they come into post. Half the battle was straightening the legs out. So just make sure you get the little notch on the end of the chip with the little notch on the board. Let's see how far out this is. There we go, that side's in. Yeah, actually both sides are in. That's a good shot. Tweezers always help. Right, so that wasn't too disastrous. Didn't take too long. So we'll just pin E down. Turn him over. Now don't pin up. Don't solder each leg next to each other. Kind of spread them about so you don't overheat the chip. So let's just try and pin that there. So I can at least focus on it. Yep. Sorry. Right, that's the chip on board. Green, brown, orange, gold. I think there's something next to the green, I'm not sure, but it looks like green, brown, orange, gold anyway. But we don't need to worry about that, we'll just pop it in here. Let the magic fairies do their thing. 50.14K. What we got? 51K. 50.14, it's close enough. 51K1 is R1, green, brown, orange, gold. Actually says on here what the colours are. That's nice. So R1 is here in the middle of all this stuff, just there. So oh, there's another LED there. I've got a whole bunch of those spare. Must be like 15-20 spare ones, and I'm throwing a few away. They were rough legs. Absolutely panel. Next we have brown, black, orange, gold. So that'll be R2, R4, 10k. So R2 is the bottom of these three. Right. Next one. Let's see what comes up in my fingers. What we got? Green, brown, yellow, silver. Green, brown, yellow, gold. If you say so. That's an R6, 510k. The R6 is the middle one of those three. Next one. Brown, black, red, gold. That's R5, 1k. That's above the two we've just done. Right, so that's 4 of the resistors on. And the chip, of course, which is a 15W408AS. The line below that is 351-SK dip 28, and the bottom 2409 HAKY54XA. Right, we only have one electrolytic capacitor, C2, so that's a 10 UF 16 volt. Remember, polarity, long leg positive, short leg's got the grey band on the side of the component. So we'll pop that in, like so. It does have it standing up, not lying down. Right, so that's the electrolytic cap on. I'm not going to bother with these VRTGs, that'll just be for reprogramming the chip, I guess. We ain't going to be doing a lot of that. There's a pair of switches. They don't go on this board. It doesn't appear anyway. Nope. So we've got VCC and ground. I think they're for the pins. Ground and VCC 10mm too. Yeah. M brain pin. So because this is going to spin around the other board, we want to solder the solid end to here. And have the springy bit sticking up like that. Big hoops. We can always reflow it and position it. We'll put plenty on here. That looks good enough. Poking up. Let's put the other one on. The M brain. I suppose it's like a membrane. Make sure you get the springy end. So that goes in ground over here. And it's just sitting there quite nicely, but we just want to make sure. Again, plenty of solder. Let it flow in there. Looks pretty good to me as well. Right, so that's what we have now. What else do we have on this board? Right, C5, C4, C3. C5, C1 to C5, 104, gone to C4, so that'll be one of these little ceramics. So anything that's got a C on this board, just bung a ceramic in it. There's either one for the other board or we've got a spare. That's staying by itself, so we might risk putting the other one in. So we'll get those two down. Reach close to that microphone. There we go, they're on. Right, so we've got one more of them. That goes there above the transistor. Got a bit loose. Okay, just being wary of these LEDs again. We should have done the middle of the board and then the LEDs, but never mind. Want to get them out of the way. Right, so that's the 3 ceramics on. Let's get that transistor in. Again, remember the you can put it on backwards. The shape of the silk screen on the board's got a flat side. Match it with the flat side of the transistor. Now these legs will spread, and that'll hold itself on. No, I can't just spread transistors a little bit more. Just make them easier to solder. Right, it's in anyway, so I think that's this board done, to be fair. Apart from the reprogramming thing, one of these headers. I mean, there's no reason to, not going to be connecting to it, so there's no reason to put it in really. I've got loads of them if I ever do need it. It only takes a minute to solder it in. So that's the wheel part of the board done. There's all the gubbins, how springy M-brain pins. They'll make contact with the 2 silver bits of this board. So when that's on, that's what will contact. Yeah, one pin will take this here and the other pin will go on the inside, so even though they're spread apart, they do make the necessary. So we've got a few parts to go in here, those 2 switches, a couple of other bits, USB, nothing on that side. So we'll crack on with that next. Right, so that's one switch. Get some solder on it. Now these 2 end ones are anchor points. Be absolutely as generous as you like with those. Is there what's going to stop the switch coming off when you keep pressing it? There we go. So we'll get the other switch on. I think we'll do the 3 centre pins first and then we'll do the 2 outer pins. Okay, that was much easier. There we go. So that's both the switches on. I'm guessing one is for rotation and one is for lights. So this USB is going to be scary. There's an old Android one. Could have been a C. Right, that's really not looking forward to this one. Christ, they're tiny. Wonder what's that looks like. Right, these are microscopically small. It's just going to take a bit of skill. That's 3, 4. Crikey, I've got all of them. They ain't bridged. It's a Christmas miracle. I mean, they were flipping tiny. Right, okay, now I'm happy. So what's that? JP1. JP1 is... JP1's going to be the motor, isn't it? The motor's there, JS30, that's what it's going to be. Okay, so we're running blind here. So at the moment we've got a need to connect this to that. Right, let's get the rest of the bag contents out. So we've got some hardware, got a power cord and a motor. So the motor's got a plug on the end. We haven't got anything for that plug, so we need to cut that off, I guess. So the motor is going to turn, right, so I'm going to guess the motor's going to go on the side, obviously, where the circle is on the PCB. But it can't go there because of the switches, so it's got to go that way round. And obviously the two holes up are the screws and whatnot that hold the motor in place. So we've got a couple of large bolts. I'm guessing these smaller ones. Maybe the larger one is for going through the centre of that. Ooh, nearly dropped it. At the moment this is guesswork because the small tiny thin ones are going to be for connecting the base together. This shaft, hang on. Right, let's get thinking. Let's see what we can see in that other picture. If it gives us any clues. No, the shaft. The shaft is important. Ask any girl. Peel this off. Oop, get off. Now, I think we need the long bolts. This is going to turn on the end of the motor, so that'll be a short one. With one of those two. So that wants to be coming through this side. Ah, look, switch holes on the back, connections for something there, and the USB. So that is going to bolt to this, and the motor is going to come through there like that. So we've got motor, acrylic, PCB board. So I don't know whether we want switches or bolts, which looks better, which looks worse, which is supposed to be. But let's just go. I'm going to put screws this side, bolts that side. Not quite tight yet, because now we have to do the same on the other side. Take the long one, put it through. Oop. Get the nut. Thread it on if you can. Right, now we can just hold that with our finger. Once the nut starts spinning below your finger, that's tight enough really. For the minute anyway. Like that. Right, so we've got our switches on the back. Whatever this bit is at the moment. So we are going to have to take it apart again to possibly solder that in. There should be a plug, but we didn't get it. That's annoying. Where are these header pins off it? Oh, look at that. That'll do nicely. Right, so what we'll do is we'll solder these two bloody header pins straight into that board. So square one at the bottom, that will be power or positive. So if we put that in like that, stop twisting on me, twisting my melon, man. There we go. So I'm going to solder those onto the board when the arm wakes up. That solves that problem. That was quite handy. The not using that header, because it saved us taking all that apart as well. Right, a bit of solder. Nice hot. Well, I can just twist behind there for now. Tuck it in behind itself. Right, so that should power in, switches, and then the power out on these two rings. So this will pick up power off the rings via the little pins. So I reckon these two washers are what go on here. Now this should screw onto that, I'm guessing. So now, before we put that chip, we can just stand it in its base, I guess. It will stand like that. You know what's going to happen now? Unplug that noisy fan, plug in this power cord, and we'll light this up for the first time here. There we go. Wow, look at that. So let's see what these switches do. That one ain't done nothing. Right, that one's turned everything off. Well, I don't know why the motor's not working. I guess the next step is to probe it. We got 4.49 volts, so I'm guessing the motor ain't working. Question is, why aren't we getting any into the motor? My new glasses are ready, but there's no point rushing in for one pair when I've got to collect two at some point, and I don't want the shitty crappy pair being the ones that are ready first as opposed to the good expensive ones. Well, that feels tight enough. This time we should get movement, I hope. Let's turn that one off. I think that's the off button. Right, let's see what happens. Turn this one on. I'm sure I had that motor working. Sherlock off. I can see the motor spinning. Sherlock off. Why is the motor spinning but nothing's happening? That is the question. Okay, so this one switches the lights on and off, and this one switches the motor on and off. Oh, it's going around dirt slowly now. Okay, now it's working. It's dead slow like, but that's definitely working. It must have been slipping before. I thought the thread was slipping, but I tightened up a bit more this time. So with those big felt washers, we must have been acting like a clutch or something. So we'll turn it off a minute and see if we can get any more tighten out of it. Any more tightness. Don't want to overdo it. I don't reckon that's our lot. So I'll just sit it in here. I'll bolt it down in a minute. These are just those pain in the arse ones. We'll switch the motor back on. There it goes. So that would just be like something to put next to one of your boom boxes or something, or in the background. Just a bit of fun, really. I quite like it. I think it was an excellent video, or an excellent build rather. I mean, it is a bit slow. I'd like to have seen it going a bit faster, but I guess that's the gearing inside the gearbox. But when I get stuff sorted out, the camera can't see me, but when I get stuff sorted out and I put builds on display, this will be one of them with my spectrum analyzer that flashes away. Now I've got it working, I'm quite happy. So thanks for watching, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Shut up. No jumping.